Welcome back to my channel. My name is Jessie if you are new around here, and I teach elementary music. In today's video, we are talking about the top 5 things I learned from sponsoring a ukulele club for the first time. Learn from my mistakes, my friends. Learn from my mistakes. First thing that I learned is that you do not need chairs. I stressed myself out thinking that I needed to get chairs and stands for all my kids for them to play, and really the answer is you don't. You don't need to take that 10 minutes to set up chairs every single day for your club. The kids were completely fine and happy sitting on the floor, and even too, like, if you want to do stands, or I've seen people take the stand part off of like the actual stand actually off of like the thing that lifts it into the air and put that on the ground, but I really don't think they needed to do it because I had the music projected up on a screen, but also I did give them paper copies and they were perfectly fine with just having it on the floor. The second thing I learned is that while I do think it's very important to have a well-rounded curriculum of talking about tab, how to read chords, and also different strummings, I do think that you need to be strategic on how you go through them. Tab, well, I love it and I think it's so fun for my kids to learn it, and once they get it, like once they have that light bulb moment, it's so cool. And to this day, it's very interesting. Some kids are more strong in tab and then some are more strong in chords, but I do think that chords are the way to go at first. So that's something I'm definitely going to change. I could tell I overwhelmed them and spent too long on tabs in the beginning, and while they were successful after a while, it was quite the road to get there, and I think that I could have focused more on those chords and getting them more confident and like eager to play. And so then when I got to the tab, they would have been a little bit more like not as overwhelmed as easily for that. Strumming patterns I think are really important too, but again, I would hold off. So I would start with chords like C, F, and A minor, really focus in on that, and then I would slowly start to talk about tab and introducing different strumming patterns. So I definitely think that there's kind of an order to it, but they're all 3 important. Which leads me to 3. I think that C, F, and A minor are great places to hang out for a long time. My kids, for the most part, could do C, F, and A minor relatively easy, and I could just see their confidence build and just how excited they were to play all these different songs. I have on my blog different little printouts. Thunder was a great one that they could do with C, F, and A minor, and Best Day of My Life by American Authors is another really great one. And there aren't a lot of C and F, A minor songs, but you could just start adding in those songs that have G in it, because once you get to those 4 chords, like, the sky's the limit. You can play so many different things. So what I would do next year is I would not teach them formally G, but I would start giving them songs that have G in them, and then just be like, I'm going to be in charge of G. Like, I'm not going to teach it to you yet, but C, F, and A minor you are in charge of, and then I will just play the G part. So it's a great place. I think, again, build their confidence, really make sure that they are feeling good before you start giving them those harder things, and then they'll be more eager to keep trying. Which again leads me to number 4. Number 4 is perseverance. So 3-finger chords like G you just be prepared for your kids to have a little freak out moment, to have a moment where they're like, I'm not sure if I can do this. And I had a lot of kids break down or just like kind of shut down when we got to G. And so I would say it's kind of, I have seen that in like teaching in class, but then I've also seen that in the club. And I think at first for my club, I started teaching them 3-finger chords that were a little bit like easier to transition to. Like, I thought D minor would be a little bit easier for them to go to. When you get to 3 fingers, it doesn't matter what chord it is. At least in my opinion, I have found just, G and G7 are the chords that are going to come up the most in different songs. So I say just rip the band-aid and let it happen, and let your kids have their moments. And if a kid is really upset and gasp, they figure out it's actually hard. I think ukulele is the first instrument that my kids have really figured out, like, oh, wait a second, like, music is really hard. And so for them to have that realization of they're just not gonna pick it up in 5 minutes, like, it's a hard realization for them. So I did have some kids that totally shut down and were like, I'm not doing it, I'm not trying G. And so I think with those, a great thing to do with them is pair them up with another kid that can do G and be like, fine, that's totally fine, but here's your partner. You're gonna play with them. You're gonna be in charge of C, F, and A minor, and they're gonna be in charge of just of G. So that person can be like ready, that's actually trying G, can have it set up the whole entire time, and so they are ready to go when they play G, and back and forth, and then the other kid can play C, F, and A minor. So it's a good way of they can start to see that that child can do it. You know, maybe they can too. And I just find if you don't fight on it too long, just let them experience it with another kid and give them some time, and they will come around. But just be prepared that you are going to have some kids that are going to need a lot of encouragement. And finally, number 5, I learned that ukulele play-alongs are amazing. There are so many out there. If you have not come across, there's a Facebook group called Ukulele video play-alongs, and they have so many different songs on there, and they even have like a database where you can look through like the number of chords, or which chords and which songs you can play, and which play-alongs are out there. So it's a really great place to check out for pop music, and they have a good mix of music, and so it's a really nice one. And finally, I just have a little bonus for you guys. I wanted to talk about tuning on here because I think it's such a big idea for students to grasp, but yet it's such a time sucker for teachers, because it does take a while to tune. So I would say for tuning, you know, definitely invest in some clip-on tuners. I think that they are definitely worth it and relatively cheap. And I think what you are going to want to do, at least in my experience, is at first just be the person that tunes everybody. As kids come in to the club, just start tuning as soon as like they get into the routine of coming to see you first to tune, and then going and sitting down and warming up. And it really doesn't take quite too long, especially after you get the ukuleles pretty much, you know, ready in tune. You know, they're gonna stay relatively in tune most of the time, so you won't have to do too many adjustments. But you do get, you know, a handful of students that buy their own ukuleles and they're new, and you have to stretch the strings and things like that. So I would say for the first few weeks, just tune them yourselves, and you know, you just have to get over that hump. Then slowly, I would start picking out students that I think are kind of grasping the concepts pretty well, and I would make them my tuning captains. So I would teach them one-on-one how to tune, and something that I use that is really helpful once I start to have them go off on their own is a little tuning guide that I created for them. So it has like different little papers. I put it on a little ring here, and so I will just give this to them, and it has, you know, it tells them step by step exactly what to do, like clip the tuner on the head of the ukulele, start with your G string, and it shows them exactly where the G string is and the tuning peg that goes along with it. And so it's really nice. Another thing that I noticed too is that when, you know, you see these ukulele tuning tutorials, most of them talk about, you know, which way to turn the tuner and all that, and it's great, but it's all about like, it's already on the string or note it should be. So like it should be, it's already on G, and they just tell you, you know, if it's yellow, turn this way, if it's red, turn this way. But I didn't really come across any that talked about, you know, with these students having new ukuleles, they're not always going to be starting on that note. Maybe it's supposed to be G, but it's starting on D, it's so flat or something like that, or it's so sharp. So I put 5 hap steps on this piece of paper that helps them know the musical alphabet, so they know again which way to turn. So this is a really nice thing for them to have as they get, you know, more and more independent, and just good reminders so they can kind of go through that. So once I kind of train them and I've watched them a few times tune a ukulele, then they can be my little tuning helpers, and they go around and help me tune the other students. And slowly, I think by the time my ukulele club ran maybe 6 weeks or so, and maybe actually 8, around there, 6 to 8 weeks. And towards the end, I had almost half of them be able to tune their own instrument. I was not tuning many instruments at all, which was pretty sweet. So I think it's just such a good skill for students to have, because it's going to lead to a lifetime of playing, because after this, you know, hopefully they go on to play longer and longer. And if they don't know how to tune their instrument, that first step, you know, nothing is going to sound right. So I think it's really important to learn, but I think that it's, you know, work smart and not harder. And so, you know, you don't want to just take, I think having a day where you're like, everyone, we are going to learn how to tune, would just not be the best use of time. I think it's just a slow process that you're just going to teach kids as they're ready. And those are my 5 tips, or 5 things that I learned from hosting a ukulele club for the first time. It was such a fun experience this year, and I just cannot wait to do it again next year. I definitely have some things that I am going to be tweaking, so I will let you guys know next year how it goes. And thank you guys for watching. Bye!